Yeah, Golf Mexico Zero, Sugar Fox Golf. Very good morning to you. Was wondering if 40 metres was closed to the whole planet. The name this side is Mark. I'm down in Sidcup in Kent, so I'm about 15 miles southeast of the city of London, and I'll give you some more details on the next over. So let's find out who you are first. GM0 SFG M0 JCF.
Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf return. Okay then, Mark, all copy. So you're coming through here about a 5 and 7, about a 5 and 7 here with me at the moment. Operator name is Tony, Tango Oscar, November Yankee Tony. We're located about 40 miles south of the city of Glasgow in East Ayrshire there, Mark, over.
Oh, very good morning, Tony, near Glasgow. Well, it's nice to hear you, and thanks for the 5 and 7. You're 5 and 7 to me, Tony. And unusually, I've got very low noise for an urban area. I've got very low noise on 40, about S3, S4 noise. I've been calling for a while, and you know, I was about to give up. I've just come off of 60 metres and absolutely dead on 60, can't hear anything, and was starting to wonder if my antenna had developed a problem or something like that. I'm using an IC-7300 today, Tony, about 100 and I think it's about 120 watts at this frequency, might be a bit less, but the antenna's a 90-foot long wire. It's an inverted U shape with a 9-to-1 unun, and yeah, I've just noticed that 20, 40, 60 seem to be very, very quiet, and just wondering if there was something going on. I haven't been on 40 CQing for some time. So that's the story, Tony. I'm rambling on. I better hand it back to you and let you have a go. GM0 SFG M0 JCF.
Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf returning. All copied there, Mark. Yeah, I just think it's band conditions not too good at the moment. I managed to work a little bit of DX earlier this morning, up on 20, a couple of VKs. But 40 metres here is pretty quiet. There's a couple of little signals on the band here, but I think they're mostly German signals at the moment. In the G's are pretty poor, but you're coming through pretty well there, Mark. Fine business on your working condition there. I'm running here at the FTTX10. I'm running an amplifier here, about 400 watts from an Acom 1000 amplifier, and that's into an end-fed half-wave monoband antenna, which runs out across the paddock here, up at about 42 feet there, Mark, over.
Oh, very nice. The very fact that you said the word paddock puts me into jealousy mode. I'm assuming you've got a bit of land around you, Tony. I mean, I've got an 85-foot garden, which is quite unusual for an urban setting. But you know, to give me the extra length, I've got say this antenna in an inverted U. It's just a random antenna as well. It's not meant to be resonant anywhere. The reason being is ever since I discovered radio as a young boy, like crystal set building and shortwave listening, I've always had a random long wire up, because you know that's just the way it worked. And then over the years, you know, I've always, every property that I've moved into, I've slung up a wire for a bit of shortwave listening, bit of DXing, that sort of thing, crystal set building, regen building, that sort of thing. So there's always been a long wire, and it wasn't until I got licensed in 2017 that I just decided, because I'm very, very lazy with HF antennas, apart from 10 metres, which I've got a vertical, I just put a 9-to-1 unun on, and do you know what? It's worked surprisingly well. I mean, it's a great antenna for Edvis and for doing what we're doing. You're quite right. I was hearing some German stations myself, but not enough. You know, I'm looking at the band scope of 40 meters, and it's just a pale blue. There's no yellow lines all over the place, and lots of squeaking and warbling. Say 60 meters was the same. I suspected there was a band problem, especially when you go to 20 meters and it's very, very quiet. There was a few Italians, I think, but once again, because I don't have a brilliant antenna for HF 20 meters, etc., I just put it down to that's partly the antenna as well. So that's the story. And seeing that you're a GM0, the assumption is you pass your Morse test sometime probably in the early to mid 80s. I actually failed the RAE, believe it or not, in 1978. I was a stroppy teenager, and once I'd failed it, and abysmally, I decided that who needs a bit of paper, the old story. So that's the story. A GM0 SFGM0 JCF.
Golf Mexico 0 Sugar Fox Golf Return. All copied there, Mark. There is still a nice signal here. I almost peaked an 8 and then dropped back to about a 6 and then back up to an 8 again. But very nice audio coming from your station there, Mark. Yeah, on the CW, I did my CW before I did the RAE. Like a lot of people, I started off early in the sort of mid-70s on the old AM, like you do, with 11 metres, that type of thing. But I took the CW, and once I got the RAE, I went straight onto the HF band. So, sort of been on there ever since. Haven't done a lot of VHF, UHF at all, to be honest. Not my thing, really. But I've always enjoyed the HF side of things there, Mark. Noise level-wise, I used to live right down on the south coast, near the city of Portsmouth. And the end of last year we moved up to Scotland here for family reasons, and the noise level I used to get in the old QTH could be anything from a 7 to a 9 plus. But we moved up here out into the country, just got a couple of farms in the distance and lots of sheep for neighbours here. Got about an acre of paddock here to play around with, so in the elevation we're up at about 700 feet above sea level here. And noise level on pretty much all the bands is zero, pretty much zero noise level. I can put on preamp here on 40 meters on preamp 1, and it still sits on the 0 there, Mark. Over.
Oh, that sounds ideal. That reminds me of the old days, when obviously you get noise, but mainly the woodpecker back in the 70s. But, I remember those days where noise wasn't a consideration, was it? It was just one of those things that if it happened, it was quite unusual and almost, like you look for it. I was a very, very keen shortwave listener, particularly with homebrew radios. So a lot of the, signal strength and stuff like that was sort of guesstimate, especially in the 70s. But I was mainly a broadcast listener. And back then, of course, it was beautiful. The world and his dog was running a station somewhere, somehow. Like you in the 70s and in the 80s, I was a pirate, and I used 11, but I also used a 45 metre band, Echo Charlie, and I used older radios for that. I did like my boat anchors, and in fact I've got a garage full of them at the moment. One of them, my favourite, my AR-88, is a little bit sick at the moment. I think it was me that messed it up. I did what everyone tells you not to do. Do not put the radio into standby by switching to trans. You will blow the output transformer. And of course I was on top band. I was using a Kodar AT5. I was on AM top band on a local net. And I switched the AR-88 to trans, and when I switched back to receive AM, and silence. So luckily, I suppose luckily, because I had to drive and collect it and broke me back, somebody gave me another one to use as spares and repairs. That one's got its own faults, so I've got spares and repairs, so I need to get on with that. I've had over the years, I must have had about 6 AR-88s now. So I've got 2 at the moment. I sold one not so long ago, which I'd got working, and back in the 70s and 80s I had a couple of AR-88s then. I absolutely loved those radios, but as I'm getting on now in years, I'm beginning to think to myself, you know, this will be the last one, this will be the last time. The next time one goes pop, I think I'll just go back to transistors. But yeah, I do love my old valve radios. Like you, actually, back in the 1970s, I had no interest really in VHF, UHF. I wanted to get straight on HF. As I say, I was learning Morse with a kid at school. We built ourselves oscillators, and you know, and just transmitted across the room. Audio oscillators they were, and we were learning Morse, and I think I got up to about, you know, 4 words per minute or thereabouts. So I was plugging along. I took the RAE, say 1978. I was about 15 years old, and I really didn't know anything. It was one of those ones, I hadn't been to college or anything. I just thought, you know, like all teenagers, I'm a shortwave listener, I can build radios. I was doing O-levels in physics, chemistry, and metalworking, stuff like that. I really thought that I knew what I was talking about until the City and Guilds paper was put in front of me, and I think you could hear the colour drain out of me. It wasn't so much you could see it, you could hear it. That's how fast it went. But you know, just one of them things that I just, you know, thought, well, I failed. Like after about 6 months, I think it was, I got the failure, and that's when I went down the naughty route. But you know, I was sensible. I was a sensible pirate, let's put it that way. I did delve a little bit into medium wave, etc. That's because I was home brewing, and I found it quite easy to do that. Otherwise, yeah, I probably would have got me Morse up to the required 12 words per minute with, I can't remember how many errors you was allowed to correct. It's a long time ago. Funnily enough, I then went to night classes for a few months. It was at Eltham Hill School in southeast London on a Tuesday evening, and I used to go to these night classes to do the RAE again, and that way I probably would have moved straight to a G0 rather than a G4. But when I say straight to it, obviously I would have had to have, you know, passed and then done the Morse. But no, I didn't, and life got in the way. I say, always been into radio and electronics and one thing and another, but had no interest in becoming an amateur, as it were. But then, you know, look, we get to a certain stage in life, and I thought, wow, I've done everything else. Let's have a go. So that's my story there, Tony. GM0 SFG M0 JCF.
Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf returning. Solid copy again there, Mark. You didn't drop below the 7 then, so very good, easy copy. Yeah, going back to the noise, I can remember, like you do, before we had the broadband and LED lighting and mobile phones and everything else, and plasma TVs, the noise levels were used to sit around about F2 to 3, didn't they, you know? And you could work the world on a piece of wire. And the difference is now, especially in urban areas, with all the broadband and mobile phone charges, cheap Chinese ones, and all the rest of it, the noise levels are probably averaging around about 7 to 8 now in some places. So that's made a big difference to amateur operation, hasn't it? You know, going to the north, I can remember when I was learning, I don't know if you remember back in the day, we used to be able to tune to the merchant shipping frequencies and listen to them on CW, giving their positions and weather reports, and I used to listen to them and copy them down, you know. That helped a lot when I was learning them all. So that brings back a few memories. I was just looking at your QRZ page. Yeah, you've got a lot of old radio stuff, a lot of it that I started on. I've had all sorts of radios over the years there, Mark. I've had obviously the old SC101, ZC, that's 101 Echo Echo. But my favourite, and I can see you've got one there, I don't know if you've still got it, it's a TS830S. I think I had about 4 of those over the years. Were one of my favourite radios. And the first one I had was a Trio, and then I think the other 3 that I had were Kenwoods. But they were always my favourite radio. I used to run it with the old Shaw 444D gas mic, and when you used to put a processor on that, you used to get some very, very good reports there, Mark. So there's something about those old boat anchors that, you know, it's got that warm valve sound on receive and transmit, hasn't it, you know? And it's always that process that you went through, tuning it, you know, tipping the current and everything else, and plate and loading. There was something about it that it was sort of different at the time, wasn't it? You know, you know the band was lively, and when you tuned up and everything else, and the way you went, sort of missed those days in some ways there, Mark. But it's a lot easier now with these black boxes, isn't it? You know, and the modern rig, just basically switch them on and away you go. But there's always something that I like to look back to for some of those old radios there, Mark. From Golf Mike 0, Sugar Fox Golf, over.
Yeah, GM0, SF, GM0, JCF returning. Yeah, no, you're quite right. TS830Ss, I think I'll follow you on that one, was the radio I always wanted back in the 80s, but couldn't afford, and of course couldn't justify. There was no way I could justify that sort of radio, only to be caught and then possibly have it swiped off me by the DTI. I actually worked for the Busbys back in those days as well, which is funny. But anyway, yeah, it would have been, yeah, I'd used it on, you know, like out of band, and of course that would have required modification. Of course, they were quite new back then, so the prices were astronomical. Well, when I got licensed, I actually wanted one, but now, for nostalgia reasons, these old radios gone up in price. But I put several calls out. Has anyone got one? And believe it or not, my club, the Cray Valley Radio Society, they used to have one, which when they move them on to club members first. And a club member had it. And I asked, and this club member said, yeah, I've got one. It's in the box. I've got the tuner and all the covers that go with it. You know, if you're interested, 250 quid. Well, I nearly tore his arm off. You know, you have trouble getting the tuner for that sort of money these days. So I used it and I used it and I used it. And then another one came along, so the right price. So I had that. And would you believe, just beginning of this year, another one come along. I think I paid £65 for it. So one of them's been moved on, so I've got 2 at the moment, but they both developed faults, as you would expect. I've had power supply capacitors and that go in them anyway, which is normal, and the high voltage drops off. But you know, so I'll get back to repairing those, but they are fantastic transceivers. I really love them. Some of the stuff you'll see on my QRZ page has gone. Older radios do come and go, especially with the KW suite that I had. I've got one KW 2000 at the moment, but no power supply for it. I need to build it. I've got other old radios like an HRO that was donated to me beginning of this year, was it the end of last year, and a few other pieces of kit. I think the Eddystone, that might still be on the QRZ page. That's gone. I really need to update it, but I've still got an FT101E. I've still got, I say, the 1KW. Yeah, I've got lots of old stuff, but generally what I tend to do is I'll buy it at the right price because I'm a mercenary. So I am cheap. I will buy them cheap, but I do use them. I like to work on them. I do use them, and then you know, 6 months, a year, whatever it may be, something else will pique my interest. So it will, you know, that one will get moved on and it will be replaced. and then we start again, you know. 101 ZDs, you know, I've had several of those. They're a fantastic transceiver as well. The TS8, the TS520, I've had a few of them. But yeah, I think there's, as you say, the load and plate, tune, that sort of thing. That little process that once you go through, I think there's something quite magical about it. It's sort of technical, isn't it? And it's technical using knobs and switches. It's not technical using menus. I mean, this IC-7300 I'm using at the moment, you know, so many menus, and I don't think I've used a lot of the features. Sometimes I forget, you know, and I'm struggling with a signal, and then I forget how much filtering and signal processing I can do. And then, you know, by the time you finish mucking about, pressing buttons, going through menus, adjusting controls, you've lost the signal anyway, you know. So it really, they need to be set up at the beginning of the QSO, and then either left as is or then set back to as it was before you started the QSO. So, you know, they're fantastic transceivers, absolutely brilliant, but they are complicated, and you know, it's remembering. It's not the using the menus and that, it's remembering that you have those memories and you have those features. And because I use a lot of old rubbish anyway, the IC-7300 doesn't get as much out in as it could do. Consequently, I forget, you know, I forget that it's got this filter, I forget it's got that noise reduction, I forget it's got, you know, something else, and so I probably miss out in that sense. I've got it fairly well set up the way I want it, but it is what it is. I'm just happy that, you know, I've come into cycle 25, so that I've been able to use 10 and 12 meters very nicely for DX. Once cycle 25 has dropped off, maybe about 2027, and the DX has become unreliable and all we have is sporadic E on those bands, my 10 meter band vertical is being replaced by a multi-band trapped vertical that I bought a few years ago, but because of station manager, etc., and because of the antennas I've got up, I can't be putting all these antennas up at the same time, which is fair enough. Even I think they're ugly. My 2 meter beam came down in December, or just before December. I had a 9-element 2 meter beam, but once again, not using enough VHF, UHF to warrant it being there, so that came off. That's going to be replaced by, when I get my act together, going to be replaced by a Moxon for the 10 meter band, which I can use on the 12 meter bands, just to give me that directional capability while we're coming to the end, or as we come over the top of cycle 25. Then I've got the option, you know, that can come down, and I can replace it either with a 15 or 20 meter band Moxon, just to once again to give me the, you know, the DX, etc. Sometimes I get a little bit bored with the operating side of it, and I jump into more home brewing and that. I've got so many tobacco tins with half-finished projects, you know. It's another reason for me getting back into CW. I actually sold all my CW kit probably 6 months ago, and then there was a club sale just last week, and there was a couple of older CW keys there, only cheap ones, 10 quid is all they wanted, so I've bought another one. And I think what I want to do is probably brush up on my CW, at least get myself up to at least 10 words per minute uncorrected, and then I'll start building, you know, basic valve oscillators, that sort of thing, to give me sort of 5-watt CW transmitters, and I'll get back into that sort of thing. I do like building transmitters, I do like building transceivers, particularly AM, but you know, they take longer to build, are a bit more complicated, and especially with AM, you know, there's not so many people that use in AM. I don't particularly want to go down the FM route, because you know, you've got 10 meters is really about it, you know, 29 megs. And SSB, There's more complication there. I'm in the middle of an SSB transceiver for 80 meters at the moment. I've also got a double sideband 40 meter transceiver that I'm building, and then a few AM top band and other transmitters that I've got sort of half finished. So yeah, lots going on there, Tony. Lots going on, and I'm rambling. GM0 SFGM0 JCF.
Golf Mexico 0 Sugar Fox Golf 37. You certainly got a lot going on there, Mark. That's for sure. So whether you can make the time to get it all done. But there we go. Yeah, you mentioned a Moxon. I used to have a Moxon when I was in the old QT8 for 10 metres. That used to work very, very well. I've also got here, I haven't got it up here, but I've got a full-size cubicle quad, 5-band cubicle quad here. The main antenna I've got up, what I use here for the other bands is the hex beam. I've got the hex beam up on top of the tower here, and that's what I use for the other band, which I find a very, very good antenna. Of course, the other advantage is the old boat anchors used to have, what I found anyway. I mean, I certainly would not go inside one of these modern radios, you know, the 7300 or a DX10 or whatever. I wouldn't even bother. But I remember out of the 4 830s that I had, I only had one problem with one of them, and that was the frequency started to run up and down on its own. You could watch it going up and down and backwards and forwards, and I think there was an easy fix to that. Open it up and solder a wire onto one of the pins, can't remember what board it was now, and then solder the other end to the chassis, and that just stopped the frequency running up and down. So the older radios, the old boat anchors, you could take the case off, and you could get inside and work on them, can't you? You know, so sort of an analogy of it is that it's a bit like lifting the bonnet on an old Model 1000. You've got a little engine in there and plenty of space to work around. Not like the modern radios there, Mark, over.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you should say that. We were talking about that just the other day. You know, my youngest daughter, I say my youngest daughter, she's 25. She's got a Ford KA, and she had to have an MOT. This was 2 years ago. It was due its MOT. One of the side lights have gone out. Do you know what? It took me 2 hours. It took me taking the front wheel off and using a Dremel to actually get to it to replace a epoxy little side light bulb and then put it all back together. What's happened as well is, you know, like the bolts that hold parts on that you've got to take off to get to the light bulb, they'd sort of rotted but deep in recesses, and they're positioned in such a way that they get maximum road dirt, road salt and everything else over years, you know. But there was that. Then I had a Nissan Micra, and way back around about 2012 I was going to change the spark plugs. You had to dismantle half of the inlet to get to the spark plugs. It was ridiculous. There was another one, I can't remember if it was my eldest daughter's VW. It's a modern VW, you know, the new shape VW. She had a VW turbo diesel, and the battery needed replacing. I can't remember if it was that one or another one, but that, you know, it wasn't a 10 or 15 minute job. It was a good half an hour to swap a battery. It was absolutely incredible. Talk about, you know, like not make life easy. Of course, you know, it makes them easier to build, because what they do is they do a chassis, they whack an engine in, then they build the car around it, slip a body on, and then do the interior, you know. So you can see from the manufacturer's point of view, you know, it's probably the best way to do it. From the conspiracy theorist point of view, it sort of basically says you want to do something simple, you've got to take it to a main dealer, and they've got to add on like 300 quid in labour charges. So, you know, it swings around about. So I still carry on and do, you know, like do some car maintenance. Of course, the other side of car maintenance is, you know, look, you've got to get into the diagnostics port, you've got to get the codes, you then go on the internet, you find out what those codes mean, you can either reset the codes or you can go down, you know, the old-fashioned route and repair it yourself. There was one with my daughter's KA. It was showing an oxygen sensor. Like she said, Dad, my car keeps going funny. So, you know, put my diagnostics tool on it. It was telling me it was an oxygen sensor. It told me the bank. It told me what one. And I thought to myself, right, I'll order an oxygen sensor. But let's see if I can get the old one out, because it's bound to be frozen solid in there, and I don't want to snap it. So what I want to do is, you know, get in there, make sure. Anyway, as I got underneath the car, I noticed something. I said to her, does your car make a lot more noise than, you know, than it should do? She goes, yeah, it's a little bit louder. And of course, what had happened is the back box had split around the weld into the pipe. So it turned out it wasn't the oxygen sensor, it was actually the silencer needed replacing. So I did that for her, so I was quite pleased with that one. But yeah, it's really weird, you know, that we seem to have made life easy for ourselves but difficult at the same time if you're you know, like a technically minded person. And you're quite right, the same is with the radios. IC-7300, depends what goes wrong with it, then I probably won't go inside it. But, you know, once again, you take it to a dealer and then they start charging silly money for, you know, surface mount components that, you know, if you could do the job yourself, then it's going to cost you 50 pence. But for a dealer to do it, he wants 50 quid or more. So you're quite right. And the boat anchors, yeah, the only downside with some of these boat anchors, like the AR88, is, you know, you can take a radio, you can stand it on its side, spin it around, etc., and work on it. But then, you know, they go the other way, something from World War II that weighs 100 pounds. And, you know, you need to keep turning it over, turning it round. And once you start getting on in years, it ain't so easy. So I think it swings and roundabouts, you know. It's, you know, you're going to get good and bad in everything. Yeah, as I say, I'm probably more likely to work on the older stuff. I've had a few more modern radios bought into me. There was an FT77, which has got 101 faults. It's all transistorized, but it's just a horrible radio to work on. I've got a TS940S with several problems, and these radios, you know, they got boards stacked on top of boards stacked on top of boards. It's got a CPU problem, and someone else has been at it before me, and the CPU board is mangled, something rotten. Once I got the CPU chip unsoldered, I'd see what half the problems are. You know, you're getting to the point where you think yourself, lovely transceivers, but I don't want to work on them. So yeah, I think we're both agreeing on that one. Your signal, by the way, hasn't really dropped below Santiago 5. It hasn't quite nudged Santiago 9. So like mine to you, yours to me has been up and down, but of course perfectly readable. And then if you want to know, the microphone I'm using on this radio is the ICOM SM20. So it's a desk microphone, and I always get good reports off of that as well. GM0 SFG M0 JCF.
Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf. Yeah, it's your frequency there, Mark. There was a break station called in. I don't know if you want to bring the station in there, Mark, over.
Yeah, I can give that a go, obviously, because I was rabbiting, I didn't hear, but let's see if we can hear them. The break station, this is Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, southeast of England, talking to GM0 SFG up in Glasgow, Scotland area. If you'd like to come back to me first, please. Okay, the station, all I can hear is Mike 0. I've got a Santiago 3 noise floor, and you're just there. So I'm going to ask Tony, GM0 SFG. Tony, if you can hear him better than me, he's right on my noise floor. If you could bring him in, find out who he is, where he is, and involve him if you'd like. GM0 SFG M0 JCF in company.
Yeah, the break station, this is Golf Mike 0, Sugar Fox Golf listening.
Yeah, Golf Mike 0, Sugar Fox Golf. Good morning, I've just got to put the phone off both of you, please. GM0, Sugar Fox Golf. Mike 0, Radio Bravo Golf, Portable. M0, RVG Portable. Richard on the East Coast, and your 5 and 9, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike 0, Radio Bravo Golf Stroke Portable. From Golf Mike 0, Sugar Fox Golf. Okay there, Rich. We were coming in here to me about a 5 and 7. About a 5 and 7. There is a little bit of QS Baker on the band. Conditions are not brilliant at the moment, but no problems at all. And the audio is very, very good there, Rich. Over.
Okie dokie, yeah, just running portable from back from the very hot car, TS480 SAP into a little whip antenna. Right, give me the call sign of your other contact, Mike 0, go ahead.
Yeah, his call sign is Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox. Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox. Operator name is Mark. There, over.
Yeah, Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox. Good morning, Mark. You're 5 and 5, 55, Roger.
Okay, Mike 0, Romeo Bravo Golf Portable. Rich, thanks for the 5 and 5. You're about a 5 and 3 to me, Rich. 5 and 3, maybe 5 and 4. You're just above my noise floor. But the name is Mark, Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo. I'm in Sidcup in Kent, so just down in the southeast corner of the country. And yeah, you're peaking about 5 and 4. When you're 5 and 4, I can hear you nice and clear. But once you drop to the, as you were on your call-in, you was dropping into 5 and 3 and below. You was in my noise floor, and it was difficult to hear you. But we got you in the logbook, Rich, no problem. Just wondering whereabouts you're portable. I think you said you was on the east coast somewhere, but just give us a location there, Rich. M0 RBG portable, M0 JCF in company.
Yeah, M0 JCF, M0 RBG portable. Yeah, okay, Mark. Yeah, you peak 5 and 9 on that over. Yeah, I'm just south of Whitby, just about one mile south of Whitby Abbey, at a place called Saltwick Bay, right on the east coast. I'm right on the edge of the sea. Just running 75 watts, the TS480 SAP, and a little microwave antenna on top of a very, very hot car.
Yeah, Roger, Rich, peaking 5 and 5 to me, which coincided with your 5 and 9 back to me. Now you're peaking 5 and 5 and then wham, dropping back down again. But I've got you south of Whitby. That's good enough. Just I'll log you in QRZ if that's what you do as well. Well, I hope you're having a great time out there. It is absolutely boiling hot down here at the moment. We got about 28 degrees out in the garden, but 31 in my attic shack. Just for your information, I'm using an IC-7300. I'm using about 120 watts from the back of the radio, and the antenna's a 90-foot random wire, so it's an NVIS antenna and not resonant anywhere. Anyway, I'll pass it round to Tony, otherwise we're leaving Tony out. He's obviously receiving you a lot better, and probably due to distance and antennas. M0 GM0 SFG, M0 JCF in company with M0 RBG portable. Over to you, Tony.
Here, Golf Mike 0, Sugar Fox Golf return. Have you still got a copy there, Rich? Over.
Yeah, Mark, if you could tell Tony, he's absolutely disappeared. He's gone from a 5 and 9 and I can't...
No, I've left him completely now there, Mark. Over.
Yeah, I just got the message from Rich, and you both got the same problem. Yeah, neither of you can hear either. As you was calling him, Tony, Rich actually come back to me and said, Mark, can you tell him I can't hear him? And Rich, Tony was saying that you've gone from sort of 5 and 7 to 5 and 9 down to 0. So it looks like your little portable station is working, and it's working very well. I mean, you're getting south and north of the country, and you're getting southeast to northwest of the country. But yeah, it looks like the QSB's going to beat you, mate, for this particular contact. Over to you, M0 RBG, M0 JCF in the group.
Yeah, 0 JCF and 0 RBG portable. Okay, I'll leave you to it. I'll leave you.
Yeah, M0 RBG portable, M0 JCF. Yeah, it really was a struggle that time. You was about a 3 and 2. So you've signed off at exactly the right time, I think, Rich. Have a great day. Enjoy your portable operation there, overlooking the sea, and look forward to having another contact with you. But always great when people have gone sort of outside the box and then they call in. Absolutely no problem with that. You know, it was terrific. GM0 SFG, M0 JCF. I don't know if you just want to chance calling out. Goodbye, Tony. Back to you.
Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf Return. I just about heard the last few words of that there, Rich. But thanks for calling in, and we look forward to working again under better conditions. From Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf.
Okay. Cheers and beers, Tony. Thanks for the call. Bye-bye.
Yeah, 73's there, Rich. Bye-bye. Back to you there, Mark.
Yeah, and do you know what? He just said goodbye to you. 5 and 8. Amazing conditions. Well, having said that, and him rushing off now, I literally came on the band just to see if my setup was working or if it was conditions. Of course, it turned out to be conditions. And do you know what? I logged you at 10:52 BST. It's now 11:34. A good 45 minutes there, Tony. But I'll tell you what, having just said to Rich that we've got beautiful sunshine down here, as I say, we're expecting the temperature to just nudge over 30, maybe 31, 32 outside. I've got that in the shack at the moment, but we're expecting that outside. So, yeah, I'm going to get myself out in the sunshine that we've got. And I'll come back to the radio a bit later. But it's been absolutely awesome talking to you. It's great having that nostalgia chat as well. It looks like we followed similar paths, although albeit that you were licensed and I went the other way. So much happened in between, what with being a bassist in various rock bands and racing motorcycles for most of those years in between 1980 and the year 2016-17. I've raced various styles of motorcycle racing, road racing, speedway and drag racing, you know, so I had sort of lots of other interests, which is why I never really got stuck back into amateur radio proper. But I think the triple license system helped me. Plus, obviously, several things happened. Was my career. I was telecoms, then digital television, then IT. So technical knowledge obviously improved over the years. And of course, the license changed, you know, the way that they did the license. Back in the 80s, of course, it went multiple guests, which is why I went back to night school. But at the time, I was racing motorcycles and I couldn't really get involved in both things. So that's why. Anyway, you know, we're sort of, I'm older now, a bit more expendable income, the girls have grown up, that sort of thing, and I just decided, you know what, I could do this with my eyes shut, which I pretty much did, and within 2 years I'd gone through all 3 licenses. But there you go. That's my ramble over. So it's been great speaking to you. As I'll sign off, I'll shut the station down. You're more than welcome to have the frequency if you want to CQ. You'll probably get a word in edgeways, won't you? Because I won't be rabbiting anymore. So I wish you and everyone around you have a fantastic day, and enjoy yourself. And we'll catch up again, I'm sure, when I delve back into 40. So GM0 SFG M0 JCF. I wish you 73, mate. Take care, good luck, and back to you for a final. GM0 SFG M0 JCF.
Golf Mike 0 Sugar Fox Golf in the final. How you came up even stronger than on that last one. There, Mark, you were about a 5 and 8, almost a 5 and 9. So the band's all over the place. Yeah, I see you when you doing a bit of bike racing there. I used to do back in the younger days, in the mid-80s, used to do a lot of banger racing. That was my type of thing. So I did that for a couple of years. Lots of fun, but I wouldn't do it now, that's for sure. Too old. I'm 66 here now, Mark, so too old for most things, to be honest. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure to work your station for the first time, and we look forward to working you again soon. But that's 73 to you and yours. You enjoy the radio. Golf Mexico 0, Sugar Fox Golf, Simon Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox. Cheers and beers for now, Mark.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure, Tony. So I nearly called you Rich then. An absolute pleasure to make your acquaintance, and yeah, it'd be great to do it again sometime. And we'll have a more moans about what we can't fix anymore because they've made it too complicated. Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot is now going QRT. This frequency is clear for use. Frequency will be clear for use.